Too true. Let's talk to Henry Bolton, OBE, International Border Control Expert, of course, member of the SDP as well. Henry, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike. Morning.
You hear these stories now from people in various different parts of the country. We've got protests going on everywhere from Newcastle down to Bournemouth. We've got them going on in Essex. We've got them happening in Leeds. We've got them happening in Birmingham, in Norfolk, Bristol, every place you think of practically, because these people have been dispersed all over the country without a care in the world. And the government's now beginning to realise it's made a massive, massive mistake.
Well, is it really realising it's made a mistake? I hope so, Mike.
I think they have. I think they've suddenly. Well, look at the way that Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper now talk about illegal migration. They talk about it the way you and I have been talking about it for ages. They talk about people being kicked out of the country. They never used to.
Well, Mike, I'm going to be convinced that they've learnt the lesson, or they've got the lesson when they start to respond properly and start delivering a real effect on the problem. Politicians are very good at reflecting something that the public are saying back at the public, and that's different to actually doing something about it. I still don't believe that Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper really are thinking like you and I. And the reason I don't think that is because we've got councils and Labour-run councils around the country, not just Labour, but Green as well, who are calling themselves cities or towns or boroughs of sanctuary. They're actually encouraging people. They are giving the people who come into their areas additional benefits. They're doing absolutely nothing to deter the flow. And if we do not make the United Kingdom an unattractive destination, people will still want to come. They will still want to come illegally, and there will still be a demand that criminals will seek to meet to move these people illegally. If they want to, if Keir Starmer was serious about smashing the gangs, serious about stopping illegal immigration, then Keir Starmer would be speaking to his party at all levels and saying, damn well stop this encouragement of what is illegal movement. But he's not doing that. He'd also be coming up with realistic planning. I mean, the one in, one out scheme is not one in, one out at all.
It's nobody out, effectively, is it?
I've said repeatedly, it's one out and one back in. We send France one, we get one back.
Yeah.
The whole thing is ridiculous. There's all sorts of administrative reasons why this is not going to work well, even with 50 a week. And where are these people being detained? How many have been detained on the 6th, 7th of August? Who knows? There's no transparency coming out of the government. And I suspect there's no transparency coming out of the government because they themselves aren't convinced that this is going to work at all well. It's just another scheme that they're throwing at the British public. The only thing that this government can do to convince me otherwise is show a demonstrable impact on the number of boats crossing the English Channel. And I don't see that happening any days.
No, I mean, funnily enough, in The Sun, there's a big spread on Crete. I don't know if you can probably get that far back into the paper, but basically in Crete, it's not one in, one out. It's one in and none. It's none in. And nobody's allowed, basically, since they decided in July to ban anybody claiming asylum in Crete. The boats have simply stopped coming because what they were doing was arresting people, detaining them and deporting them straight away.
Indeed. And, there's the discussion at the moment about deportation of foreign national offenders in UK jails.
Yeah.
Well, look, this has been law for probably 20 months or so now. Since 2007, I think, there has been a statutory duty on the Home Secretary to deport foreign national offenders. The reason that they haven't been been deported in that time is that successive Home Secretaries have come up, as we all know, with activists and lawyers launching appeals, mainly under Article 8 of the ECHR, which is about right to settled life. So these people claim, I might have been here illegally, I might be committing all sorts of heinous crimes, but I've got a settled life, I've got children here, and they're all going into UK schools. And that's enough for the courts. Well, countries like Denmark and Sweden have got around this now. They've not left the ECHR. I actually advocate leaving the ECHR, but an alternative is to follow what Sweden and Denmark have done, which is narrow the window. What the Article 8 of the ECHR says is that there has to be a method of assessing this person's sort of their integration, their security threats, and so on. Now that we've got a bloody wide open door when it comes to that, to sort of, it's the Scandinavians have narrowed that right down. So back in December, they deported somebody who was born, he's second-generation immigrant, but he was Ghanaian, and they deported him because he'd been committing offences, but they could demonstrate that he had not made any effort to integrate, even second generation, born in Denmark. So the others have acted. We've got successive governments who quite simply have failed to exercise the leadership necessary to solve the problem that the British public continually demand that they do solve. And these protests, Mike, are going to escalate, I believe now. I think they are not going away. Yeah. They are going to escalate, Keir Starmer. They are going to escalate until such time as you actually make an operational impact on this problem. Yes. I'm sorry, people aren't going to go away any longer.
No, they're not. I mean, the good thing is that they are being more and more peaceful, it would seem. I mean, I was just talking to Jamie McIver, who was in from Essex, where he said it was actually so peaceful at one point at the weekend outside of the Bell Hotel in Epping that it was really actually almost silent. It was almost like a silent protest. And the police have learned, it would seem, not to start roughing them up. And police, it would seem, have calmly kind of just escorted them and made sure everything was fine. And as long as that's the case, then it might not stop, but it might not put enough pressure on the Prime Minister to do something about it, because he might think, well, they're not actually, because in some ways he would like it all to kick off so that he could sort of clamp down on it. But I wonder whether he's going to have the wherewithal to change his mind or do anything. I know they want to get them out of these hotels, but at the end of the day, it might actually get worse if they're all put in houses.
Well, indeed. I mean, what's happening is there are places that have been relatively untouched by the sort of dispersal of...
Not many.
Well, no, no, not now. And I think one of the things that's happening is rather quiet little areas that have been unaffected. Places like Newbury in Berkshire, where I was recently. People are there. They're very quiet, very sort of middle class, fairly affluent place. Everybody's been sort of in the past, well, what's the big problem? Well, now it turns out that the local authority apparently has taken over some housing development of affordable housing, centre of town, and now the town has become, I'm sorry to say, but visibly different. People are going, what's happened? It's waking people up. I'm very glad that the protesters have realised that themselves that violence and agitation is not the answer. But I think Keir Starmer won't listen until he has police commanders, perhaps, going back to him and saying, look, Prime Minister, this is not what you think it is. Right. And that's got to go through the Home Secretary. I genuinely don't think he's listening. I still
because in his heart of hearts he wants to be sort of performative and he wants to show that he's tough. I mean, we see these occasional videos that he puts out, and if you go on his Twitter, you can always see that there's something he's saying that he's clamping down on. But at the end of the day, everybody knows he's not really. Let's have a look and see if he's put anything out today. Yeah, here we go. He's put out this, I always pinpoint his first tweet of the day. For far too long, foreign criminals have been exploiting our immigration system, remaining in the UK for months or even years while their appeals drag on. That ends now. If foreign nationals break the law, they will be deported at the earliest opportunity. Well, at the earliest opportunity doesn't mean anything, does it?
No, and Mike, and that, this decisive talk, this ends now. He knows it is not going to end now. Now is today. Now is now. It's not tomorrow. It's not next week. It's not next month. Not next year. Not in 5 years. Now is right this moment. And he knows that's not the case. So does he take us for fools? The way an honest politician would talk would be saying, look, this is what we're doing. This is why we're hoping it's going to have an impact on the numbers. And these are the timelines that we expect to see that impact. But the man he churns out this stuff. And I like the way that you put that, his first tweet of the day, because it's always going to be the same sort of nonsense.
Yeah, it is.
And nobody in this country takes that sort of thing seriously. So he's undermining himself anyway.
Well, that's it, because nobody believes a word he says, because, he's been saying this rubbish for the whole year that he's been in,
Correct.
And we've just found out that he's now, turns out he told a load of lies about the Chagos Islands, and in fact, it was going to cost us a lot more than $3.5 billion. It's more like $35 billion.
Even before the election, Mike, we heard all sorts of pledges from this government that they would do something or wouldn't do something, and then they've done a 180-degree turn on it once in government. This is a dishonest government. I mean, you've got to have integrity in leadership, and this government is demonstrating that it's lying to its own people. It thinks it can just sort of smooth talk its way out of any situation, and we're all stupid enough to believe it. And, this is why, and the Conservatives weren't a great deal better. They were better, but they weren't a great deal better.
No, but I mean, it has got significantly worse since Labour got in. And just to add insult to injury, I'm just to mention this one other thing before I let you go. The first migrant to be convicted of illegally working for Deliveroo since the Sun's probe has been fined. The bad news is he's only been fined 26 quid. Because it turns out that that's about 2 hours' pay for a Deliveroo driver, but he claimed that he was too broke and owed too much money to pay any more of a fine than that. So he's the first person in the past 6 months to turn up at court to face charges of working illegally. 3 others have been charged, but they didn't appear.
But this Mike, I mean, it's not too dissimilar, a different scale, to what I was saying about the Scandinavians with their legal approach.
Yeah.
They've got far tighter, far stricter guidance being issued to their courts from the Justice Ministry, Sweden and Denmark. They've tightened it right up. So the courts now are, they're draconian in the way that they are sentencing these people. Here, we've got look, Mike, we could talk about this forever. Our police are in a mess. Our courts are in a mess. Our borders are in a mess. Our government is lying to us. The whole thing is broken. And I'm starting now not to talk so much about the actual incidents, because there are so many every day now, so many examples. What we need in this country is not performative politics, it's not rhetoric, it's not theatre, it's not lies, it's not showmanship, it's not, great little sort of videos put together by a social media sort of, whiz, but right. It is statesman-like leadership. It is somebody with the strategic acumen and the eye for detail that's going to be able to pull all these things together. Because I've always said there is no silver bullets at solving this problem. It's about pulling together all of the justice, the policing, the law, there's a whole range of diplomacy, foreign affairs. All of that has to be brought. I see no politician, no mainstream politician of any of the main parties, and I include Reform, that has got that acumen as demonstrating it. They're talking up the problem rather than addressing it, and it's starting to where do we go when no politician?
Well, this is the thing, it all is rather meaningless. The problem is you just got to stop them coming. It's as simple as that. Henry, thanks very much indeed. Let's get a voice note from Mark.
Morning.